The Box Seat, brought to you by our stable of sponsors. Hi everyone, welcome to this edition of Your Box Seat. Yes, brought to you by our stable of sponsors. We appreciate their continued support. Michael, we've got plenty to talk about. Alexandra Park, we'll talk about nominations for that very shortly, but decent meeting last week, some nice horses there this week, and all importantly, a Miracle Mile, which looks like a cracker for 2024.
Yeah, hi Greg, big hi to everybody watching around New Zealand, but of course some of our Australian friends watching will be watching with you on Saturday night. It's an intriguing Miracle Mile. I think you could have got long odds if you had told people in New Zealand 6 months ago that Don't Stop Dreaming and Sooner the Better would be in the Miracle Mile, Gregory, up against Leap to Fame. Lots of stats and numbers and barrier draw info and historics being bounced around. We'll try and put those in context for you a little bit later on. And I think, Gregory, the arguments or debates around who our best 3-year-olds are, boy and girl, very interesting at the moment. I thought we saw a few things at Alexandra Park last week that suggested maybe one stable has a bigger hand to play than the stable we usually expect to be starring in the Northern Oaks and Northern Derby.
Yeah, definitely, Michael. So let's get into what you can look forward to on the box seat this week. Cold Chisel, yes, get Zachary Butcher his first Alabar Classic. He grabs a double too with that filly Michael's talking about, Duchess Meggit. Alexandra Park, we will preview the action there for Friday night. Chariots of Fire, we'll review that from last week. Obviously get into the Miracle Mile and the analysis around that. Some of those stats will make it interesting viewing, I think. Preview Cambridge as well Thursday night. They've got a couple of decent races there as the Northern Country Cups continue, and we'll give you another chance to get you and 3 mates to the Night of Champions out of Cambridge on the 14th of April. Yes, that is the Tab Trot and of course the third running of the Race by Grins. Before we get into any review, Michael, we have to discuss the elephant in the room. It has been an ongoing problem in the north. Why, for the life of me, we continue to try and run 2 race meetings back to back over and over again. I know the dates are set well over 12 months prior to the season where we are now, but the bottom line is Cambridge on a Thursday, Auckland on a Friday simply does not work, and if 53 nominations, yes, 53 ended up being about 47 horses, doesn't resonate with those who make these decisions, then they're not listening, they're not reading the room.
Well, I agree, Greg. It's first of all, the calendar is set, and I agree there's not an enormous amount you can do about that because that also runs through the TAB and the Dates Calendar Committee. So it's not like harness racing can wave its wand and change these things, but something clearly needs to change. 7 races, 47 horses at Alexandra Park. Bizarrely away from the subject, it's actually quite a good betting night, and there might only be one odds-on favourite for the entire evening, but that's just happenstance. That just happens to be a coincidence. It's not good enough for a Friday night. Friday night is the main platform for harness racing, and unless this gets sorted out, then the other elephant in the room, one elephant, the one over here, is this, and that's Addington races every Friday. Now, that's been discussed previously, and it is an affront to people who live in the north because they think it's not fair, and maybe it's not, but if turnover is the great god of racing, then 47 horses ain't going to drive a lot of turnover this Friday. So what do you do about it? Well, Cambridge have the right to race and those horses have a right to start every week. No doubts about that. There's 2 races at Cambridge which would have fitted in a lot better at Alexandra Park, albeit I'm sure the Bay of Plenty, Waikato Bay of Plenty Harness Club don't want the Bay of Plenty Cup going to Alexandra Park, Greg. But that race for $25,000 and the $20,000 trot clearly took horses away from Alexandra Park. Some of the minor races at Cambridge, I'm not sure those horses would have gone. So you say to yourself, well, what do we do? Well, you could have maybe a time of the year where you don't race them back to back. In winter, it's not as much of a problem because invariably they tend to race week about. But then you say we need product, which is what people who run betting shops call horse racing. They call it product because you need it for betting, therefore for turnover, and therefore for money to go back to the industry. So you could say, let's cap Cambridge. And this is by no means slagging Cambridge. They're doing nothing wrong here. Cap Cambridge at rating 65 horses. So we're going to hold as many races as we can for horses who are of that ilk. And then everything else is forced to go to Alexandra Park. But then again, are you forcing them to go offshore? There's more to the story. Then you say, well, is Thursday night in the north the thing we should be doing? Should it be Addington and Alexandra Park racing Thursdays and Fridays, turnabout, and Cambridge and the Manawatu and some of these other places definitely stay away from each other in those regards? Or we hold a meeting at Cambridge on a Tuesday with lower penalty ratings, providing product, and some of those horses can back up Friday, which takes a massive mindset change from our trainers, Greg. So there's some of the potential numbers around all that and some of the stuff that could work or is worth considering. But I think we can make a very strong case, Gregory, because we do have a grass track circuit in some, which I realise also needs horses. But we should have Addington and Alexandra Park racing at least 45 Fridays and Thursdays a year. Just swapping around, sometimes they go different places, depending on what's on around them, Greg. But I don't think bouncing inferior product to Thursdays or Friday nights, and I'm not saying Cambridge is inferior because they have a barn burner of a next month coming up, but I don't think it's doing justice to the turnover figures for harness racing, what we're doing at the moment. So that's what I think, and I've thought about it a lot in the last couple of days. Do you see a solution?
Not to the horse number problem in the North Island because it's an ongoing one and it's not going to get any better, Michael, but I definitely concur that Addington pretty much is going to race every Friday night. This North Island situation can't continue where they race back to back. I don't know about rating 65. I think that might even be a bit high, Michael, because when you look at the numbers of horses that are rated over 55, there's not actually that many.
Yeah, I get where you're coming from. Number.
Yes,
like
absolutely.
You could even say all those country cups type races have to go there, but then again, does that defeat the purpose of them being country cups?
That's right, yeah.
One of the problems we have is, because I do a lot of work in Australia, and they're very happy to race at Albion Park on Tuesday and Albion Park on Saturday night.
Yeah.
And Bathurst on Wednesday, and they might go to Menangle.
Well, one of the discussion points at the moment, Michael, is getting our horses to start more often. And that would be a solution if they were wide enough apart, Tuesday to Friday or to Saturday or whatever it happens to be. It obviously won't be a Saturday night, but you know what I mean. So we need to do that because that brings another discussion point in, this ridiculous idea of removing the qualifying time, which I was going to touch on last week. We might as well touch on it now. If we don't have a standard, and by the way, they're called standard breeds, and the standard is you must beat the qualifying time to be able to race. If we start having a tier below qualifying standard, all we're doing for mine is dumbing down the product. Now, you say you want more product. I think we can find a solution within programming and with those Tuesday, Friday splits to enable that to happen. But I don't know what you think about removing the qualifying standard. It's pretty, I'm not going to say simple to qualify because some horses can't, but if you think either A, owners are going to want to have a horse that can't even qualify in work to race for $4,000 or $5,000 on a Tuesday, or B, trainers want to train those types of horses to race week after week after week on a Tuesday, it's uneconomic and it will not make our product look any better. And if for mine, it'll dumb it down.
I must admit, I'd never think about qualifying times. I mean, I don't imagine there's any horses who have 4 legs and a head that can't qualify. And I'm not being horrible in saying that. I mean, they're just so bad.
Well, Michael, we can't remove the 2-minute get a pin black type, and now we want to remove the qualifying time.
Yeah, well, from my point of view...
Do you want me to start you on that?
Well, from my point of view, the qualifying times are so loose. Any horse who can pace around safely is going to qualify. And if you can't, well, then you probably don't have much of a future as a racehorse, and we shouldn't be breeding those type of horses or embellishing them being bred by continuing to race them and then breeding them from them again. So the qualifying time thing doesn't bother me too much because I never think about it. Whether they qualify or not, as long as I get round in 2 trials safe, I'm happy enough for them to race. But you would think a trainer or an owner should be self-policing here. If you're going to a trial and finishing 100 metres behind the winners, then you should have the guts to tell your owners these horses are no good and we shouldn't be racing them. So that's where that stands. But they've got to be able to be well-mannered enough and safe enough to get around. But yeah, one of the bigger ones, the simplest way to fix this, obviously, is to race more often. If you've got a poor horse and it's not very good and you race Tuesday and Friday night or Sunday afternoon, then you've got more chance of getting some money at some stage. And that's what they do in Australia. But what you do then, and this is the difference, is a lot of times you'll draw barrier 7 at a track, a small track in Australia. You just go back to last and wait till next week, wait till Sunday, because you're going around so many times. And that's why they have so many horses who race 220 and 250 and 280 times, because half the runs they're having, they're just going to the fence and hoping for a miracle, which isn't a very good spectacle sometimes. So it's a very broad question, but it comes back to one other question. And this is the word I'm using all the time when I have discussions about all sorts of stuff. And that is governance. At some stage, somebody needs to make a decision based around a whole bunch of stuff. And one of the issues we seem to have in harness racing, because it doesn't happen as much in galloping. In the gallops, they make a decision, they tell everybody, they have a road show, and then they make the decision. In harness, we keep having these surveys to ask people what they think. Well, we've had that, and then we've had the Horsemen's Association, who has had some questionable leadership at some times from people who have been their voice to the industry and have just been teeing off at people and getting involved in ludicrous arguments. So you say to yourself, well, shouldn't we be better off if we just employed somebody at the top, and I'm not saying who it should be because I don't know, who was smart enough to make the right decisions and trust that person to make the decisions and back them. That's what they seem to have done in the gallops with Cameron George and Bruce Sharrock. And if you're not willing to do it, because we can't keep making all decisions by committee, because it doesn't work, and everybody has a vested interest who's going to vote, and therefore you end up with a whole bunch of people doing what they want to do. I'll give you the 2 best examples, Greg. And I know this isn't how we usually start a show, but I reckon people should tell the truth when they're on television, because you have an obligation to do so. I was in a forum about 10 years ago in Christchurch about the handicapping system, and a really respected trainer, a smart guy, a guy I really like as a person, got up and said, we can never raise the stake below $7,000 minimums for maidens, because if we do, they'll get a penalty and we can't sell them to Australia. Smart guy said that, smart person. Well, that's just ridiculous. Yep. You can't live trying to have your stake so low you can't sell the horses because they'll get metro penalties. And I'll never forget this one. When the ATC decided they're going to build the Young Guns, which is a great series, which has been a little bit cannibalised by the date change, but it's still been a great series. A lot of great horses have come through it. I had a senior staff member in harness racing say to me, but what's that going to do to the Te Amutu Breeders' Stake, which was about $15,000 or something completely ludicrous. It was a joke race they used to have every September, and 6 horses went round it, and Graham Harris won it like 5 years in a row. Just an irrelevant race, which means nothing to anybody ever. It's now gone and no one's ever thought about it again. But we were aiming so far down the bottom of the barrel. We were aiming for the bottom. And that still percolates through the field sizes in the north. People would rather win a race worth less than try and win a race worth more. And don't try telling me that it's too tough to beat Stephen Reid and Barry Purin and Tony Hurley and Stonewall at Alexandra Park, because those trainers all go to Cambridge. And the average maiden race at Cambridge is just as fast as the average maiden race at Alexandra Park.
It is.
So when you put all those things in that philosophy, that's when you need, we'll go back to the word governance, you need a big boss to come in and say, enough of this crap, we're going to take care of this sort of stuff, you're not racing there, you're not doing there, trust that person, and if they're not right, find a better person. But unless you do that and we try to run an entire industry by committee, we're not going to get anywhere with this.
Nope, we absolutely are not, and we need to leave that there for now. To go to Alexandra Park from last Friday night. It was the Alabar Classic, being won by some outstanding horses. Another great addition this year. Cold Chisel sitting in the trail, coming wide out. His arch rival is Chase a Dream. We'll get Aaron White to bring them home and then get the thoughts of Zachary Butcher post-race.
Cold Chisel on the passing lane, booms through, 75 to go. Cold Chisel up the passing lane. Cold Chisel, Chase a Dream. Cold Chisel. Cold Chisel will get the Group 2 Alabar 3-year-old Classic over Chase a Dream, and they were followed then by Major Hot.
Zach, congratulations, your first Alabar on a horse you've got a lot of admiration for.
Yeah, it was a cool race to win, and especially beating Mark and their good one. It's a bit of a sort of Merlin Don't Stop Dreaming rivalry starting all over again, so it was good to get that one.
Let's talk about the race, and I've got to ask you, a lap out, you look down at the dust sheet, what were you doing, and did Tony take you by surprise again? This is multiple times he's done this.
I'd love to say that, no, that was 100% the plan when Tony come around. I was going to hand up, but in all honesty, team, just the shortness strings, actually, the ring just dropped off the side of the dust sheet, and the strings were sort of dangling around his legs. So I was looking at them, and I went to pick them up, and by the time I looked back up, Tony had swished on by, and I had no other option but to hand. And hey, after the race was all said and done, it was good that it happened.
Yeah, Major Hot we're talking about, of course. He was excellent, though, Cole Chisel. Probably helped him because when he got to that passing lane, he really got into his work, didn't he?
Yeah, he felt super. He's very quick, deceivingly quick. I think he showed that when he come down the outside at Auckland a few starts ago, over 1,700. And I sort of thought maybe Ned had got the plug away on me, and she got going before I could get the lane. And I was thinking maybe she's going to be quite hard to pick up, but yeah, once he hit those hobbles, he showed pretty quick speed. I actually picked him up sort of halfway up the straight, and if anything, maybe he just knocked off short of the line, which is what he can do. But no, he was pretty comfortable in the end.
All right, 3-2. The battle lines continue to be drawn between these two. Chase a Dream just in front. You get a chance to even that up in the Derby. What do you think, the 2,700? How will it affect your horse, or will it not affect him at all? He seems pretty durable.
I guess you never really know till you get there. You know, you'll always say he'll be fine. But like anything, 2-7, they're going to have to relax. And in the millions, he wasn't pulling or anything, but he was keen enough. He just felt well in himself. Where last week in the Alabar Classic, he was really relaxed and handed up, and he just dropped the bit the whole way. So I guess going into 2-7, he's going to have to do that and be tractable, which I think he will. And he's probably a horse that doesn't matter. He showed, which was really exciting the other day, that he can run off the gate and do a little bit of work early and still finish it at the other end. He's not a one-trick pony anymore. He's developed and got stronger. So if the draws are there and we get the good draw, we can work. And if we don't get a good draw, well, we know he's got the speed to pick him up.
We hate comparing horses of different eras, but they're in the same era, Merlin and Cold Chisel. Are they comparable at all? And of course, Merlin went on and won both derbies, or are they completely different?
You could probably say that a little bit the same. High-speed horses, I guess to be a good horse, you've got to have a lot of high speed, and they both do. They've got gate speed to put themselves in the right position. They're both proven they can do it on top and in behind. So they probably are a little bit the same. I don't want to say that Cold Chisel's, the next Merlin. He's still got a lot to prove, but he's on the right path of doing it.
Got to love the honesty of Zachary Butcher. I'll get Michael's thoughts very shortly. Here's what Nathan Purin, who co-trains 3 chargers that were in the Alabar, had to say about their team. Nathan, the Alabar Classic, obviously won by Cold Chisel, but let's talk about Chase a Dream and his performance. What did you make of that?
I thought he was pretty good, Greg. Really, he's coming wide on a fast last quarter. Trying to run down a horse like Cold Chisel was pretty good effort, really. So, yeah, I thought his run had a bit of merit to it anyway.
All right. I suppose it wasn't a change of tactics, but obviously leading in the Richer race a couple of weeks earlier and getting him back into the field, that's all part of the plan leading towards the Derby?
Yeah, it's not something you can do every start, really, Greg, chasing off the gate that hard. And, sometimes you run the risk of them never coming back to you either when you come out that fast. So, Natalie chose to take the easier option there and let him relax off the gate, and knowing that there's a 26 or 2700 metre race coming up in 2 or 3 weeks' time.
The race did change complexion when another of your runners moved, and Major Hot came very quickly and might have caught Zach Butcher just napping there slightly.
Yeah, he's very fast, and Tony summed the race up great. He's still, if he's not the best, he's certainly one of the best, that's for sure. So he keeps proving it week in and week out, and his run was really good. I think if he got a nice trip in a big race, he'll be a bit of a threat. And
what about Vesem? He just hasn't had any luck since moving north, has he?
No, he hasn't really. He's every time the money goes up, he never seems to have a favourable draw or get the rub of the green. But his day will come, hopefully sooner rather than later, because I'm sure the owners are getting frustrated by it too, but as much as us. But no, he's he's a horse that'll keep. He keeps bouncing back, so his day will come anyway.
I think they've got a sire stakes heat leading into the Derby, so that's obviously the pathway for all three of these.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
240 Michael Chase a Dream versus 350 for Cold Chisel. Still in the market is a We Walk by Faith, but he's not coming back for the Derby. He obviously races the Derby this week, and then we'll hear from Nathan about the Nutrient Series that he's eligible for. So who really, pre-barrier draw, would you want to be on? Because there's a decent sort of margin between them in the market at the moment.
Yeah, I think there's nothing between them on what we've seen in the north, but there's still that huge win on Cup at Addington where Chase a Dream was quite unbelievable, winning the Sires Stakes. So clearly his absolute maximum at the moment is better than Cold Chisel's absolute maximum. But then again, they're both still coming back up. I mean, Cold Chisel, I still think his best win was Ashburton on Flying Stakes Day. He was dramatically good there. So they can both do really cool things. In a market, I would think the real odds are about $3 Cold Chisel, $2.50 for the other horse. Not much between them. And I think if they run the Derby 50 times, I think, you know, one of them will win 30 of them, the other one will win it 18 times, and I think something might scrape into the other two, maybe. Maybe a Vessa, maybe a Major Hot, but they're very good horses. And considering the Derby makeup, Greg, it's hard to believe they're both going to draw the second line. One of them will probably draw the front line. I don't think it's a market you need to be betting too much into now, because those odds could completely flip depending on that draw, which in a 13-horse field, 8 of them are going to draw the front line. So I think very reminiscent of the older 4-year-old stablemates, but I think Cold Chisel is at home, and I think that helps because he has his own trainers training him at the moment. Nathan's training a team down south. The team in the north's doing a fantastic job. Yep. But Mark's in Australia. And once you start dividing up your resources, and yes, Barry and Scotty have horses in Australia as well, but they don't have a southern stable. So Cold Chisel has more favours, and he's going home to sleep in his own bed every night. Yep. So I think he should be a lot closer in the market to the favourite than he is.
Yep, Christopher Dance was excellent. The Surfer was excellent as well. So, yeah, it may not just be a two-horse race. And I must catch up with Nathan Williamson about Dreams Are Free and whether he is heading north. One horse we know that will be there that night, it's in the Oaks, Duchess Meggit. Here she was, first up since winning the Group 1 at Addington. And wow, she was very, very good. We'll get to Zachary Butcher post-race. They only went 44 overall, but 55, 8, 27, 6. And look at the way she stretches into her hobbles. Here's what Zachary had to say post-race after she beat stablemate Artisan.
For the Oaks coming up in 3 weeks' time. Duchess Meggit, she gets the win.
Well, that's almost the perfect dress rehearsal leading towards an Oaks, one would think.
Yeah, she's getting better and better, that filly, and, you know, nice and relaxed early and sort of pulled out. And I thought, oh, I might have to give her a wee bit more of a scrub up. But once she straightened up and levelled out, she hit that line pretty strong in the end.
Hasn't she got a long stride? She just covers the ground beautifully, which indicates, particularly with her size, that the Oaks distance is absolutely going to be up her alley.
I would say, yeah, the Oaks is, probably more her go. The 2-2's fine, 1700, just takes her just a little bit to get into her rhythm. You probably would have seen that the other night. I just sort of let her flop along 3 or 4 lengths behind the back of the field there. But 2-7, she's just such a sweetheart. She goes out there, she drops a bit, she relaxes, and when you push the button, she goes. I think her race over 1980 down in Christchurch when she won that Group 1, they went hard early, and they all get tired. Well, she just keeps going. So I do think the 2-7 will suit her.
Michael, she's $1.75 to win the Oaks, $4.50 for All You Need Is Me, who comes to the park this week. Coastal Babe, $5.50. Spoke to Stephen Reid about her scratching. Just had a slight cold. They've treated that, so there was no drama. Goes to the trials this week, and if you remember last week, he did say that the race was a bit of an afterthought. So not ideal, but not really, it wasn't really her pathway anyway, so I'm not too worried about that. But she just looks like an Oaks filly, doesn't she, Duchess Meggit?
Lovely filly.
Yeah.
Beautiful stride, as you mentioned. Looks a lot happier going quick than she does going slow. She was mucking around a little bit early. The concern about taking $1.75 is this. She doesn't seem to really be a front runner. So you're going to have to come wide, and there's two ways to do that. One way is to come and sit parked because you're thinking Coastal Babe's going to be in this race and she's pretty darn good and she may well be in front. I don't know that, but it's more than likely. So she's in front and you're saying, do you really want to come sit parked outside her and try and beat her? Not impossible, but not a lot of fun. Not many horses win the Oaks from sitting parked. Or you're back in the field. And the problem with being back in the field in Oaks races is, unless you have it somebody attacking Coastal Babe or whoever's in front, they can run home in 55 and a half seconds and you're trying to catch them because the other option's moving. So anytime I have a horse like her, who is probably not a leader and she may well grow to be a leader, I don't know that. But then, Greg, you start depending on tempo, and the majority of horses in Oaks don't stay. Most of them are completely gone by the 400. There's about 3 of them who aren't. They tend to be on the marker picks. So as much as I think she'll win the Oaks, and she is a clear top pick, $1.75 for a horse who I don't think is going to lead, because Scott Phelan said to me last week, we don't really see her as a leader yet, then it's too short.
Yep, no argument there. One horse I did want to show you from Addington last week, well, he's gone back-to-back, hasn't he? Ahoka Connor. He just keeps on winning. He's following his stablemate, Alta Meteor here. He has a bit of a bobble about 150 metres off the post when he just gets into the passing lane here, and he's not quite as clean in his gait as you'd like, just there, Michael. But he's racing really well. He's $51 for the race by Grins, which he obviously still hasn't got a slot in, but we did talk about this race and the potential for a horse to come out of it to grab one of those late spots. One horse that did come out of it with a flashing red light on his helmet was Da Vinci and Craig Ferguson. He's a good horse, isn't he?
Good field this. Look, there's 3 or 4 horses there who can turn up in a New Zealand Cup in November and not embarrass themselves, and be horses who could run top 5, and that's on what they're doing now. I think the race by Grins might be a little bit pointy for them, Greg. I just think that when you have Leap to Fame coming, and we don't know who he signed with, but he signed with somebody, and Old Town Road, who we'll see this week, and Merlin, and Don't Stop Dreaming, you say, are we going around so we can have a night at the office, or are we going around with these horses to win money? I'd be far, far keener to chase the races you can win than the races you can't, and let them learn that they can win races. I think there's nothing worse, Greg, than putting horses in races they can't win, giving them a headache, potentially souring them, and not having a pleasant experience. So I wouldn't put them in the race by Grins, even if they get a slot. I think Stocky's smart enough to know that. And I just let him go through his gears and learn and learn and learn, and then start putting the acid on him, Ashburn, Flying Stakes, those type of races, and by then he'll tell you whether he's New Zealand couples.
Yep, $1.80 for Leap to Fame, like you say, yet to be confirmed, but we believe he's coming. Don't Stop Dreaming out to $4.60. Frankie Ferocious, $7. Speak the Truth, we'll talk about those horses very shortly. For the Miracle Mile, Merlin, $11. Better Eclipse is boosted at $15 if you want to take that. Let's get into the Auckland preview though. Have a look at Self Assured, and then we'll hear from Nathan Purin post this race. Now, he gets beaten here by Mark Shard, and Nathan will talk to us about his last 2 runs and where they think he's at now that they've treated him.
He's in for the fight. Self-Assured. Mark Shard's got the measure of Self-Assured. Mark Shard, free-legged, and here's his first win back in NZ. Mark Shard. He'll down the colours of Self-Assured.
Well, Self-Assured's been beaten in his last 2 runs, but he hasn't been disgraced.
Yeah, his probably 2 runs back was good. Last start was just fair, really, for his standards anyway. Thought he might have been a little bit better, but took him home, got some blood tests done. They weren't the best, so we've treated him for it, and hopefully we can see a better version of him on Friday.
Right, he goes to the Founders Cup, and of course he secured a spot in the race by Grins, so he'll become the first horse to have gone through all 3 editions. That's a bit of a feather in his cap as well, and a testament to his longevity. Yeah,
too right it is. Yeah, he'll be in there with a bit of a chance. Hopefully, if we can replicate the form of that show day run, you know, he can prove that he's up there with the best of them still.
All right, he's in the Lincoln Farms Founders this week, Michael, taking on Old Town Road. A little bit later on, we'll see the most recent trial of those horses. He's $2, Old Town Road $2.80. Mark Shard, who beat Self Assured last time, $6. Ultra Wise Guy 11, and Kango, who comes out of that trial too, at 15. Can Old Town Road beat Self Assured, and will it come down to the barrier draw over the 17?
It comes down to intent, Gregory, a word we use a lot more in harness racing these days than we used to. If Old Town Road strolls to the front, which I think he probably will, then he's the horse to beat because there'll be no attackers. It's not that sort of race. But if the 4 or the 5 says, nah, I'm not putting up with that, let's just blast off the gate, I think he probably hands up. I think he probably does because it's a month to the race by Grins, and I believe, I'm not sure, but I believe he'll be in the Brecken slot.
Okay.
So he's got bigger fishes to fries, Gregory.
Yes, he has.
So, look, I'm going to do a fair bit of work on this and ring everybody involved and try and give people an indication for HRNZ or the Hero. I don't think Mark Shard will be the horse who goes forward and tries to bully him, although he was aggressively driven at the workouts last week.
Yes.
With self-assured, you'd say to yourself, what are we waiting for? He's probably only got 10 more races in his life, maybe. Maybe he's got 20, I don't know, 10 that matter. I'd just blast him off the gate. But in saying that, Old Town Road still might beat them up the passing lane, or, of course, Older Wise Guy might get involved and he gets behind him, still gets a nice run. Intent here is absolutely everything, Greg. It could be a race which halfway through, you're sitting in the 1-1 and you've got no chance.
Yep, totally. All right, we'll leave that feature race out of Alexandra Park on Friday night. Last week, we lost one of the nice guys of harness racing, Peter Baggery, who trained over 120 winners, delivered horses like Better's Heart to us, obviously was the man who developed the Mighty Quinn, or I'm the Mighty Quinn, as he became known, and the winner of 3 Into Dominions and over $4.5 million. He had a real battle over the last 6 or so years with brain cancer, and he lost that battle last week. Here's one of his signature performers as a trainer, Dexter doing the driving. 151.9, Michael. That's Tiger Tara charging into second position. He was just the sort of bloke you wanted to have a yarn with on race night. Never outspoken about his own ability, allowed his horses to do what they did best on the track. Actually drove the winner of 4 races at the 1978 New Zealand Cup Carnival. There he is, the big man, 6'3", quietly spoken, excellent horseman. He was once quoted as saying, Michael, that they were farmers who trained horses, but I think he and his father were just a little bit better than that.
Yeah, really sad to hear about him. Bloody good fella, Peter. And I always think of Burlington Birdie.
Yep.
That's the horse I always go back to because Colin drove it to win an Auckland Cup and we ordered a couple of beers afterwards. And yeah, that's my horse for him, not on the Mighty Quinn. I never sort of really paid much attention to on the Mighty Quinn as a 3-year-old until he buggered off overseas. But yeah, Peter's a good guy. And I liked him, and I think everybody liked him. And I'm really sorry to hear that to the Baggery family because we lost a good one there. Almost got the result, did Tom, on Friday night or Thursday night last week at Addington with a second to farewell Dad. But I'm sure Dad would have seen the funny side of Brian Sampisi getting home to beat them. But yes, one less good bugger on earth.
Yep, and he'll be farewelled appropriately at Addington Raceway, where he drove his last winner, a horse called Drell, a few years ago. That'll be at 3:30 on Thursday. As we go to our first break, he keeps on doing the business as a trainer, Regan Todd, and playfully registering win number 250 in his training career. He's got there pretty quickly, and this horse did it pretty easy.
He's going to race right away here. Oh, this will be a big win, playfully, too good.
Welcome back into your box seat with Garrards. Let's head across the Tasman. It was, of course, the feature 4-year-old race, the Chariots of Fire. Here they are, turning for home. Frankie Ferocious is in front, 149.4 the winner's time here, Michael. He just keeps running this horse. Once he got there, he's got Sooner the Better on his outside. Merlin Wider out, Don't Stop Dreaming. They couldn't make any ground because they were running home so fast. 53 seconds, 26.4. It's just too tough to pick up the ground.
Yeah, it's a strange race because it sort of looked like they were going faster than they were earlier, but sectionally they weren't. And The sooner the better actually made a little bit of ground, not much, but he's made some, so he's come home in 52 something. So they're very unusual times to be talking about. In saying that, I still think Don't Stop Dreaming underperformed compared with his best. Maybe it's the retention barn. I'm not sure he really enjoys the retention barn situation. He's quite a free sweating horse. Here's Jason Grimson and Cam Hart with this new horse who we mentioned a while ago, even though he came from Queensland, he was a very, very good horse in Queensland. So it's no surprise to see him going 149 at Menangle. That doesn't shock me at all. Yeah, I think Merlin was definitely a pass mark. Merlin's come from a wide draw. He's been in the running line and therefore he's gone okay. I just think Don't Stop Dreaming underperformed, Greg. So by no means did I expect him to come out and win in a 53 last half, being 4.5 lengths off the leader. But I thought he might have hit the line a bit harder.
All right, let's find out what the guys behind the horses thought of that. So here's Zachary Butcher with Merlin. Zach, what did you make of his Chariots run?
You couldn't be disappointed. I guess at the time you're going over there to win the big one and you run fifth and you're a bit down and out, but you know, take your time and go back and look at the replay. And like, he was the first one home off the fence with probably the worst draw out of the ones that we had to beat. And he stuck to his guns. You know, he wasn't far away, and like, you've got to be happy with him. You know, 149, 53 home. Sort of what can you do? But yeah, it is what it is. I was happy enough, and I think he'll get better for it.
All right, pretty philosophical there. Zachary won't be going back to drive him in what used to be the Bohemian Free-For-All. It's now a Group 2 $100,000 race. But here's what Nathan Purin had to say about Don't Stop Dreaming. Nathan, on the face of it, Don't Stop Dreaming's run in the Chariots of Fire was below his best. Yeah,
it's fair to say. He's had the right trip and he never got urged along too much at the start or anything like that. So, yeah, he's... From week to week, I think he's going to have to lift, but we know he can.
What about this week? Barrier draws out, comes up with 6. 2 of the best credentialed rivals have drawn to his outside. And how special is it for you to have a runner in the Miracle Mile, your first, with your dad in the training partnership?
Yeah, very special. It's right up there with the races like the New Zealand Cup and that everyone tries to win. It's very prestigious, and you know, it's just something that probably very lucky. Could have pinched myself that I'm getting there so early on in the career. But no, it's very exciting, especially with a horse like him.
Can he bounce back?
I think so. He's done in the past. You know, a couple of times that he might have had something or an off day or anything like that. But he does seem to do it. I think it might have been the Derby the week prior to the Derby. He wasn't quite right, and then you know, we've seen a huge run the following week. So I wouldn't rule him out just yet.
All right, and bloods have been taken. We haven't got the results of those yet. Let's go to these 2 preludes, Michael, to the $1 Million Garrard's Miracle Mile. First of those, the Queenslander, Speak the Truth. He's a pretty good horse. He finished 5th in the Tab Eureka. He won the inaugural Hayden. He's driven by Adam Sanderson. This was a really nice performance. Sitting parked outside Spirit of St. Louis, he's got himself into a Miracle Mile again.
Yeah, he came from barrier 10 and he was way too good. The horse is out wide. Ladies in red, Rock and Roll Do, who's still looking for a spot in the race by Grins, but he's running away from them at the line. Very good performance. Gets barrier 1 this week. Spoke to Shannon Price, his trainer, on the radio on Monday, and she said if Adam is able to lead, and that means holding predominantly Hi, My Name is Jeff at the start, she said we won't be handing the lead up. We'd like to leave them there and park them out. Here is Hi, My Name is Jeff. Unbeaten at Menangle, crossed them with lightning gate speed, and he's a really, really good miler. Down the outside is Loyalist, yep, that Loyalist, the former New Zealand Loyalist, and a couple back in the field. Better Eclipse had absolutely no luck, towed a few into the race. He'll keep. He goes round in that free-for-all you mentioned on Saturday, and I think he can win. But Hi, My Name is Jeff is very fast, Greg. Now, he's a total Menangle miler, and I think he'll probably lead. Maybe 70-30 he gets across Speak the Truth. And then the question is, and this is what the whole Miracle Mile comes down to, is are you willing to take, I think our tab's 2.7, are you willing to take 2.7, that leap to fame can sit parked outside Hi, My Name is Jeff? Because I don't see anybody getting in his way. I spoke to Grant Dixon at length yesterday. He said, I'm probably going to have to be outside the leader. But of course, Hi, My Name Is Jeff may not get there. But if he does, he's a legit 148 and a bit horse. Can Leap to Fame go faster than that sitting parked? I think the best version of him can. Grant hates the retention barn, thinks being a stallion, it doesn't bring up the best in Leap to Fame. So that's a little tiny question mark to factor into your betting. And then you say to yourself, well, do I think he'll sit parked outside Hi, My Name Is Jeff and beat him? Yes, I do. Do I think he can still win the race doing that? You say, well, who's going to be on his back? Maybe Sooner the Better. I don't see Sooner the Better running past Leap to Fame. Maybe the best version of Don't Stop Dreaming could, or Speak the Truth coming off the leader's back. So, Greg, you start saying to yourself, well, who am I picking to beat him here if he is going to be beaten Leap to Fame? A lot of hoopla made about the fact that he's got barrier 7. Wouldn't worry too much about that. Here's the stat you need to know. Yeah, he's got barrier 7, and Black's a Fake couldn't win from 7, and neither could Lazarus. Lazarus was crook, forget that. Black's a Fake almost won, but got beaten by Smoking Up. There's no other Grand Circuit horse in this race. Leap to Fame is a Grand Circuit Inter-Dominion Hunter Cup winner. There's not another Grand Circuit winner or major race winner. Bizarrely, the only horse who's won a really major race in the race is South Coast Arden, who won a New Zealand Free for All, who's not going to get a start. So you've got 3 really good 4-year-olds who will get to their place in life at some stage, but they haven't won a Grand Circuit race.
Yep.
Spirit of St. Louis is a professional bridesmaid. Speak the Truth is a really good horse, but he's never beaten Leap to Fame. That might change by midnight, New Zealand time, on Saturday. And Hi, My Name Is Jeff is a very, very good Menangle miler. But over the history of the Miracle Mile at Menangle, the very, very good Menangle milers haven't been strong enough to win. The horses like Cash and Flow, the horses like the Shane Tritton horses, which were hard running, get out in front, wow, this will go 48 every day of the week, they still haven't been good enough to win the Miracle Mile because the better horses have been too strong for them. And the better horses in this race, there's 5 starters by Bettor's Delight, remarkably. 5 of those tough rock and roll horses, tough buggers, who might be quite keen to give a horse like Hi, My Name Is Jeff a hard time at some stage. I think he will win Leap to Fame. I think 270 is very fair for him.
He's actually $3, Michael.
Well, yeah,
so.
I knew it's bounced around a lot between $250 and $3.
But I think it's $3 at the moment.
I don't think barrier 7 for him bothers me as much as it would for most horses because he wouldn't lead from 1, 2 or 3 anyway. But there's a lot of things to factor in there, punters. I'm not saying it's a great bet, but he's still clear top pick. And if Hi, My Name Is Jeff can lead and beat him, I think he's going to need to go close to sub 148 to do that. And I'm not sure he's got that in him just yet. I could be wrong, but I don't think so.
Yep, I'm with you. I'm with Leap to Fame to win as well before he makes his way over here to the Race by Grins. Let's go to the New South Wales Derby. We Walk by Faith. He was in the second of the heats, the slowest of the heats. He still got the job done though. Mark Purin was able to get away with some pretty sedate sectionals before ripping up the home straight in 26.5. He'll be extremely hard to beat, and we'll hear from Nathan Purdon about a horse that has come a very long way, particularly in the last few months.
And We Walk by Faith is going to cruise in to win.
Well, you guys had a plan with We Walk by Faith, and judging by his heat win, it's bang on at the moment.
Yeah, he's quite a nice horse. He's come a long way and over the last 12 months, and I think the way he's going, he could keep getting better too.
All right, the couple of heat winners around him, Bay of Biscay and Ravishing Story. In fact, Bay of Biscay beat Nathan Street, who's by Lazarus, so there's a wee link there. And do you think that your dad will be fearful of those other heat winners, particularly with one trained by Emma Stewart?
Yeah, definitely. She's got to be respected for sure. And Nathan Street's got a nice record, and obviously by Lazarus, hopefully does a good job too. So he's got to be in there with a chance, but certainly respect those couple anyway.
All right, Ravishing Slew, of course, with Luke McCarthy. Safely through this Derby series. He's not coming home. He's purchased out of the Nutrien sale, so he's got that series.
Yeah, so I think the heat's on the 12th of April, Greg, so he'll go on to contest that and then hopefully run the final the following week.
Michael, he's got barrier 1. He's $1.90. Can he win?
Look, I tipped him last week as the clear top pick in the Derby. Ironically, the draw's the worst thing for him. The 2400 metre mobile point at Menangle is not very good, and the inside barriers are not very good at all. Now, we know he's quick off the gate because we saw him at Alexandra Park 2 starts ago fly off the gate. So he may be able to hold up, and New Zealand horses have a natural advantage in distance races this early in the season because most of the Australians haven't tried it very often. And it's not a very strong derby, but he's not our best 3-year-old. So yes, clear top pick. I think he can win the race from a different array of places, but he is potentially going to need luck or to burn early. And as we know in Australia, a burn can be a real burn. If some of their drivers get it in their head that they are going to cross you, they will keep going. So I think he'll win, but I do think it could be a slightly hairy watch, Gregory, at some stage, because barrier 1 at the 2400 can be really tricky.
10:24 the start time of the New South Wales Derby. As we go to our next break though, we highlighted this last week. A couple of smarties were having their first run. Always Dreaming. He's this beautiful breed of stud-owned bloodstock. He dashes up the passing lane here for Nathan Williamson. The fool to Don't Stop Dreaming and Dreams Are Free looks to have inherited the family ability. And looking forward to seeing what he can do. And also Music Mistress, who got the win in the 2-year-old fillies, goes to Northern Southland on Saturday. Looking forward to seeing her in another very good clash with Nathan Williamson's smart 2-year-old filly as well. In your home straight, in your box seat, time for a bit of preview. Let's go to Cambridge on Thursday night. A couple of really good races for good stakes. Here is Faith in Manchester. Michael finishing third at Alexandra Park behind Monarch Hill. Ultimate Moment did look home at this stage, but really like the way Faith in Manchester got to the line. She's a nice mare by Creatine, obviously trained by the Wallace Hackett team. Crystal will do the driving again, and the big plus for me is her record at Cambridge. She's won 4 of 12 starts.
Yeah, and the 2200 metres, Greg, means that the horses like Sacred Mountain, who are off the 40 metres, the back markers, are really going to struggle. In a capacity field, it's an awfully long way back. So it's the best horse in the race, Sacred Mountain, but it's going to have a lot of things against it from back there. You like Faith in Manchester, finally matured, really nice horse, in the right type of race. So great stake, $20,000, the latest leg of the Country Cups of the Trotters, which I think the final's actually on race by Grinsnight, and which would be really cool for some of these horses to be involved in some of the trainers and owners in that type of race with predominantly what we would call expensive horses, Greg.
No, well that's a $20,000 race. $25,000 race is the Bay of Plenty Cup. Here's Don't Stop Me Now. Now, I've saved this video until now, but it's important for Old Town Road and Kango. Don't Stop Me Now finishes in 4th position. That's Max Shard in front and doing it really nicely for Harrison Orange. They ripped home here, Michael, in 57.28.1. He didn't finish that far away, Don't Stop Me Now. He is fresh up since Christmas Eve, but I don't think he's too far off the mark. Tony Cameron will take the drive. He's off 20 metres, but so's half the field. Back there with him are Fernley Cash, Mickey Shan and Village Rebel. DJ Rocks off the 10 metres. Off the front's Bet West. It's just a good competitive race, but I quite like Don't Stop Me Now. I think he's got a bright future.
Look, I think he's a nice horse. Punters, be really careful with this. I spoke to Tony Hurley and Maurice McKendry, our 2 most successful ever drivers, last night. They trained these 2 horses. They both said the same thing. They both had 2 starts in Country Cups, actually in the same Country Cups. They've quineled in the last 3 starts they've had, they've quineled 2 of them together. But they need to have 1 more start to qualify for the Northern Country Cups final and the national final at Addington for $110,000 on May the 10th. So they have to start in this race. So they've said, look, we're both going to get better with the run, and we're off 20 metres. They don't have to win, Greg. They don't have to win, and neither man said to me, hey, Mick, be jumping on this. This will be winning. There was none of that going on. It's, hey, we need to do this. The only other qualifying race left is in Palmerston North next week, and they both confirmed to me they're not going there.
Right.
So they're going here to try and win. Winning would be great. It's 25 grand. But they also won't be driving the ears off these things if somebody steps and runs, because they have a $40,000 final for the North, which is sort of end of Aprilish. It's still a fair way away. So they're trying to qualify for that, and they have to start to qualify. And then the big final at Addington, which they both said we would consider going to that if we go good enough. It's around April 25 where that race is on, Greg. So just be a little bit careful here. They're not rock hard fit, and a couple of other horses here, I think, may be fit enough to exploit that.
All right, good information. That's why we got you on the show, Michael. Heaps of information.
I knew there was a reason. You know what? I did a show yesterday, and my co-host gave me a bacon buddy and gave me some food.
And what have I given you?
Zero. Zilch show.
Yeah. Not the end of the show, by the way, people. That's what we normally do. Let's move to the Kawateri Cup and have a look at this horse. This is an interesting replay, Michael. Just Ask Paddy. Trained by a character. He's a terrific bloke, Tony Thomas. So that's Gemma Thornley getting through on the inside with Just Ask Paddy. When he gets close to the winning post, he does a few things wrong. He holds the race, and he hasn't started since, but he's been to the workouts, and he was second. It was only a 3-horse workout, so hard to get a line on. But he's won 2 of his 3 starts. He's by Gold Ace. He thinks about things a little bit, but he's got terrific ability, and he goes round in that Kawateri Cup on Friday, the first of 2 days, the second day being at Reefton. So, yeah, interesting replay there, but he's got a chance. It's a decent sort of a race, though, Michael. Mwanga resumes, Dashing Majors there. Helium's a handy sort of a horse, but, yeah, interesting replay. Just thought you might want to have a look at that one.
I think it's the first time I've ever seen anybody suggest we back a horse who falls during the replay. So that's a first.
Something different.
Gregory?
Yeah, thought you might be impressed
by
by
that.
that.
No food, but you've turned up with something unusual.
All right, moving right along to the Seddon Shields trotting race, which we're not going to show you a replay of a horse falling over. Boys Invasion's on 26 points. Then you've got Muscle Bang. It's a great wee series, this, and the winner overall, and the last 2 races are Friday at Westport and Sunday at Reefton. Points go 7 for first, 5, 4, 3, and a point for starting in it. It's $10,000. $10,000 for first and $3,000 for second. So good luck to those still live in that series, and good luck to the coast with their couple of days. Night of Champions is coming up. Your chance for you and 3 friends to win the comp. Each week I haven't been giving you the answer. I think the last couple of weeks, Coterie is the band that's playing on the big night, and $340,000 was paid for Don't Stop Dreaming's brother. So they're the last couple of weeks. Anyway, what about the question for you this week with our friends from Addington and Cambridge? What trotter was confirmed a starter last week in the Tab Trot? Wears green colours with a CC on and goes pretty fast, and its initials are MM. Trying to help you out here. There's over 100 entries in that, so yeah, get involved in that. And don't forget, Michael, about the Tab Trot sweepstake. They did it last year on the Race by Grins. Waikato Bay are Plenty Harness Racing. Get your tickets. They're $100 each. You only have to go to their website. All the details are on there. And the person who draws the winning horse, $50K. I think you might have a go at that. We had a go last year, so you having another crack?
Yeah. I'm going to buy 10 tickets, and if I get a horse, I'm going to give all the money to charity.
Good on you. Brand?
Yep. I probably won't get a horse. I won't really probably be giving anything away at all.
Speaking about the Tab Trot, you did ask last week, and I think my answer was RC Phoenix. It's been snapped up. There you go.
Really surprised that somebody...
Aldebaran Park.
I suppose it was an Australian who took it.
Yes.
But I was really surprised because I thought the other Australians might scare them away. By the way, Coolby the Breeze,
yes,
the Great Southern Star, when it goes around in the trot at Menangle.
Against RC Phoenix.
Yeah, so it's going to be a decent of it. So this Menangle meeting's really going to have some resonance for what's going to happen. I just wanted to say resonance so people realise how smart I was. Resonance, Gregory, for the Race by Grins night. Leap to Fame's been signed by somebody. It's going to be in there. Don't Stop Dreaming's probably going to be signed by somebody. It sounds like their connections obviously have a horse in play. What's going to be really interesting is the last 2 spots for the trot.
Yep.
I think Smoke and Bandale will get one. Surely they can't have 5 Australians here. So, I don't know. I just don't know who that last spot's going to go to. So, if you've got a nice horse, I would suggest you ring either Tony Hurley or somebody from, I think it's the Honey Bro spot's the other one, or something like that.
I think so.
and get involved, because they'll be looking for a horse and there's just not that many floating around.
No, there's not. So what can you look forward to around the nation this week? We have that Cambridge meeting, a couple of really good races there, the Bay of Plenty Cups for the Trotters and the Pacers. They get underway just after 6 o'clock. Friday, Westport starts about mid-afternoon, 2:28, if you want to know the exact start time. Saturday, that Northern Southland meeting where Music Mistress races Captain's Mistress and the $40,000 feature there. Looking forward to that. That should be a terrific contest. And then, of course, we've got Sunday's Reefton meeting where the fields will be out after Westport finishes. They've got, I think, 11 races down, 12 o'clock start time there. So, yeah, plenty of reasons to get involved domestically around the country. But, Michael, we've covered a lot of ground today. Obviously, those issues around horse numbers and getting race meetings off the ground and quality race meetings, not just having a race meeting for the sake of it. I think there's a lot of discussion to be had there. But from a purist point of view, the Miracle Mile is an outstanding race. It always is. It's $1 million. It's drawn a very good field, but you make a great case for the fact there's not that many Grand Circuit horses in it. Therefore, Leap to Fame, he's clear top pick for me as well. It's going to be one heck of a contest, and it normally starts a little bit late, so it'll probably be somewhere between 11:45 and 12 o'clock.
It does, and the two conversations play into each other, because what's happening there, Call Me Breeze, Leap to Fame, all these good horses going around are turning up at a race in Cambridge a month later, and that race didn't exist 2 years ago. Yep. And if you can build $1 million race and a $575,000 race out of nothing, zilcho, if you can build that, you can do anything you want, because it's a small industry and you just need to make some big changes. Get rid of this ridiculous black type rule, do whatever you want to do with the qualifying thing. Stop asking everybody all these questions, because everybody's going to give you their opinion based on what they want to happen, because they've got 6 maidens at home or 6 open class horses. Make some decisions, and if you don't, Entain's going to come in with a big stick and start making them for you or fund you less. That's exactly what's going to happen. I don't know what we should do, Greg. I'm not saying I have all the answers, I don't. But if we don't make some decisions, the people who pay all the bills are going to come in and start making some decisions for us.
Yep, that's, I couldn't have put it better myself, Michael. Really good initiative too, coming out of the Methven Club with those horses and those drivers, etc., coming over. They're going to have the Battle of the Anzacs, Greg. Sugars and Chris Elford are going to Methven on the Sunday after the big meeting at Cambridge, the Night of Champions. That's been your box seat for this week. Michael, next week we will wrap up that Miracle Mile Carnival and look forward to what's ahead out of Auckland. But for now, we'll see you in 7 days. The Box Seat, brought to you by our stable of sponsors. Harness Link, for all your worldwide harness racing coverage. Brecon Farms, New Zealand Bloodstock Standardbred. IRT, it's your horse and our passion. Garrard's Horse and Hound. Lincoln Farms, Renwick Farms, Harness Racing New Zealand, the clubs, Auckland, Cambridge, Addington and Ashburton, and the TAB.